Hi, today we're going to talk about the Marvel Masters of Suspense Omnibus Volume 1. The Marvel Masters of Suspense Omnibus Volume 1 is a collection of the Masters of Suspense series from Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. I believe this came out before the sort of superhero comics that they're more well known for were being printed. It's a relatively cheap omnibus to get by, I'll get into that in a minute, and it's one that I think if you're somewhat of a completist it would be good to have in a omnibus collection. But again, I've got my reservations regarding buying further issues, which again, I'll talk about in a minute. Anyway, let's have a look in the book. So this book has a great binding. It's the first thing you'll notice on it. It's sewn and it opens and reads really well. It's also got great print quality too. The pages aren't anything special as far as thickness goes, they're standard omnibus thickness. But for whatever reason, they've put a lot of care and attention into the binding of this book, and it sits well above some others with glued bindings that you would pay a lot more money for. Talking of money, this one comes in from £35 upwards, and that's new as well. So I wouldn't be paying anywhere near the £45 to £50 mark for it. It's 688 pages long, and it collects Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's works. These were comics that were published before the superheroes we sort of know and love, Spider-Man and that, came out. So you've got collections of comics from Journey into Mystery, Strange Tales of the Unusual, Marvel Tales, World of Suspense, Strange Tales, Worlds of Fantasy, going from 1956 all the way up to, let's have a look, 1961. And these tend to be very short stories that have usually a scientist, aliens, or some sort of sci-fi and light horror element to them. Let's say they only last about 6 to 8 pages in length for each story, and they have usually a moral or some sort of twist at the end. This is a kind of book where you wouldn't sit here and just read through it, because there's a little bit of repetition in the storytelling, which you can understand when it's been stretched over that number of years and it's in sort of a weekly comic format. Rather, you pick this up, read a few stories, put it down and come back to it another day, and that way it doesn't get stale, it doesn't get old, and you can enjoy it. I wouldn't say that I'll buy the second volume. I think, to be honest, it's one of those sort of one and done books where you go, okay, I've got that for my collection, I'm interested in what it collects and seeing this sort of piece of history, and that's fine. I think if Marvel ever wanted to do something with these properties, they could make it into either an animated or an animated and live action TV series, maybe even of just little short tales, 10 minutes a section or 15 minutes a section. Some sort of anthology series. Okay, so that was the book. What did you think of it? Is it one you were looking at getting? Is it something you've been sort of thinking of picking up mainly because of the price, or just because you're interested in what these stories are? Obviously, I don't think this is a pick it up and read it all the way through in one go omnibus. I think it's more of a dip in and just read the occasional issue book. Buying volume 2, not really, only if it was the right price, I've got to say, and that would have to be pretty cheap. I think one and done is enough for this. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.